now. How are you switched over?
Yeah, I swapped over as soon as you said now.
Oh, okay. Well, we're here.
We're here, everybody. We're here.
So today is going to be the start of hopefully of a new series where we are exploring different aspects of world building. Today we're going to be starting on like a lot about magic stuff, but like not going super in depth about everything unless if people ask questions. Please ask questions.
Yes.
And
do.
your VOD is going to be left up on YouTube, correct?
Yes.
Mine will be uploaded to YouTube as well. If viewers come in and they say, hey, or you see what we're doing and you're like, hey, I have some cool ideas for y'all to do to make things better, let us know in the VODs, and then that way we can incorporate between now and next time. Also, the reason we're starting with magic today is because in most cases, magic is one of the most important places to start with world building. I heard myself. I didn't hear.
My computer decided to unmute itself for a moment. I'm sorry.
But yeah, we are starting with that. The reason. Should we go into the quick reasoning as to why magic is one of the most important things for world building?
Yeah, I can even hit this a little bit. Is one of the things with magic is that whenever it comes to world building and things to think about with world building, one of the biggest things to consider is that magic determines your world so heavily because of the fact that it can literally rewrite the laws of physics to the point of maybe you don't need to have an industrial revolution. Maybe it comes quicker. Maybe it just never comes. Maybe it comes at a normal speed. There's so many details with magic.
Not just that, it's also, it basically is a law of the world. Because like it is literally so fundamental. Like it is something that like exists in the world, unless of course it's added after the world already existed, which is an interesting case, and it's being shown like some series nowadays with like, well, that's spoilers, but I'll just say non-spoiler cases, hey, would be like solo leveling. They didn't always have magic in their world, or in like Gate. They didn't always have magic until like the gate to the fantasy world opened.
Yeah. It's so fundamental to a world that, like you said, unless it comes later,
it has to be there from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good place to start with world building. Also, Alice and I are gonna be all over the place with this because
it's true. We've got ADHD. This is a hyper focus of ours,
and also we're both of us are terrified.
This is for context for me why I'm nervous, because I know some people will be like, "What? You're nervous? Why the f are you nervous?" I haven't done a stream like this, really.
This is like a podcast.
Is the PowerPoint one I did.
Yeah, this is like a podcast style stream or whatever.
Yeah,
but like not. That's why whenever it comes to power systems like magic, you have to be very careful. Yes, you have to be extremely careful because you can very easily break your own rules. Which is actually why I hate certain. Okay. Going to start saying a magic system that I do not like, even though I love the series.
Please do.
Aragon.
Oh, ooh, yeah, you are very passionate on Aragon.
I do not like that magic system because it is basically says. Now my memory is a little bit fuzzy, but it is essentially magic is basically a one-to-one with your stamina of or like the actual cost of doing the task yourself. My hero is something that we will get to another thing, but yes, it is still a magic system. But no, Aragon. Ooh, I dislike Aragon's magic system. I love the series, love the author. But if your magic is being able to pick up a boulder, and then you get as tired as picking up said boulder, or like manually, then and it's so easy to overstrain yourself in that series. The only reason why the main character doesn't fucking do it is because he has a dragon to pull from stamina from. But
Now,
there's still spellcasters in that series.
that 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 alone, that description, kind of, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, why would I bother using my magic to pick up the rock if I can? Like,
It makes sense if like you're picking up from a distance. Yes, it gives you range. However, making it a one-to-one thing doesn't make sense. That's we're going to talk about
yeah.
costs later.
Now, one thing we did have a question, and if I notice questions in my chat, I'm gonna be trying to look at yours. Sadly, my secondary computer is about like 97 to 100 degrees away from me. Fangy has asked, are there any tips on how to avoid breaking your own rules?
Yeah, so the first thing you want to do is you like that's why it's important to start with your magic system. It's very important to get your magic system. Um, think about it like a paper that you're writing. Think about it as um, like you know how you first make your outline and then you fill in all the details later. You want to make sure your outline doesn't have contradictions, and you want to make that outline before you make the world. A lot of even though I enjoy a lot of different shows and stuff that have magic, a lot of them also piss me off because they break their own logic with their magic systems, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
But um so then when you do go and create some of your more of your world, you can fill in the further details, but just always go back to your original rules of your magic system and make sure they work there.
Now, with that said,
It's
I
basically power
do.
creep, like not power creep. What's it called? The feature creep in like video games.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do want to bring up in kind of response to what you had been saying, and that
Thank you for
is,
the lyric, Aaron.
I almost want to say it's something along the lines of like the world builder's boom, and that is the fact that you
Water.
can always go back
Water.
and change something.
Water.
You can always,
Pet, pet, pet.
if you decide, for example, that you want to have a magic system centered on like elements, and you figure out this whole circle off of like, let's go with the four common earth, fire, water, wind, and you work up this
Thank you
whole
for the
system
hydrate and thank you
around
for
them,
the water.
and then you
I
decide,
did hydrate.
well, if you think about it, there's some elements that can fall into multiple categories. You know, I'm gonna use lightning here as an example because of my knowledge of scientific shenanigans. Lightning, realistically, is just very high heated, vibrating air.
Well, and then yes and no. I mean, it not
Plasma.
it's plasma, but like so you could say the same. But like I wouldn't say you wouldn't call it an air because that'd be more like talking about like a gas, which even though air is technically a fluid, but um,
But
that's
that's the
getting
thing,
to
like
science things.
some magic systems, you know, and this is kind of the reason for this series is talking about all this stuff. There are magic systems like Pathfinder, for example, that they actually consider lightning more of an air-based thing.
Instead of like a fire based.
Yeah, because of the fact that it realistically plasma kind of does,
Well, fire is
you
closer
know.
to plasma than air is because air is basically air is a liquid. Wind is still a liquid. It's not a gas. When you like yes, moving through the world, we're basically moving through a very like like a liquidy gas. I don't know. Sorry, gaseous a very gassy like liquid. I mean, sorry. But like there's a reason like there like stuff like that. It's so what Avatar did the metal, lightning, and blood bending. I mean there is yeah. I get what you're saying. With the well, metal bending is not the same as except for if you're doing like messing with mercury is not the same. Avatar is another thing. Okay, Let's start actually
We're,
defining
we're
what magic
yeah, we're
is.
we're getting a little
We're
off beat.
we're very
I most
ADHD.
just to at least finish the point I was trying to make though is the world builder's boon is that you are making your world.
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
you decide that you want to make this change, as long as that change does not contradict your rules, go for it. However, something you also get to do as a storyteller's boon is the world building lie. And we can get into that a lot later,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Because you don't have to lay out everything out clear to everyone right from the beginning.
yes, and not everything known may be what's the actual truth.
Or um or as a very great scene in Log Horizon shows, the laws can be changed.
Usually by magic.
Yay!
We've circled back. Yes, we've broken the curse.
Okay, so let's talk about what is magic because we've had My Hero mentioned and Avatar mentioned. I know in Avatar they say it's not magic, it's fucking magic.
Yeah, yeah,
Chakra in
it's magic.
Avatar, it's magic.
You mean Naruto?
Yes, chakra in Naruto.
Oh,
I'm being dumb. Chakra in Naruto is magic. Chi in, or no, Ki in Dragon Ball, it's fucking magic.
alchemy in Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes,
Psi,
magic.
if you've ever read Siren, that's all magic. Quantum is magic in sci-fi. More of a Deus Ex Machina, but yeah,
Um,
you get
you
you,
can
you, you
and
get
you
the
can
spirit.
turn other things into magic. Say, like I was thinking about this the other day. I was telling Alice about it. Um, you can make a magic system completely around radiation
Yeah,
and just have it like for that system. Oh, what would the rules be? Well, a lot of things are radioactive. You could we gain like already in our world. We already gain like energy from the radioactive, from radioactive materials, and but we can't absorb it ourselves. Otherwise, it kills us. But it also causes things to change and stuff like that.
look at things like Shadowrun. It takes something like hacking and turns it into magic. If you've ever played Shadowrun, there's the Technomancer. Their spells are borderline just magic. It's what a lot of people use as like a basis whenever they're describing how an artificer in fifth edition casts spells. It's an artificer's not waving a wand and casting a spell. They're jamming like rocks into a gun and casting catapult. Um,
Another thing is another like thing. Okay, so 64 says so see I just say power system instead of magic. Yes and no, because there are skills, then there are magic, and those kind of go along different but similar rules. Once again, talking about solo leveling because it's like a new show that everyone's like been hyped over and people love the manhwa and all that stuff anyway. So it's like semi familiar with a lot of people, like recently.
yeah,
Um, that show, you don't get stronger unless if you're the main character who had basically the rules changed for him specifically. Basically, after a certain point, you do not get stronger unless if you reawaken or something like that. There there is, but you have set skills as soon as you're doing that. But there is a distinction between the magic and those skills because some are physical feats. The others are not just like they're distinctly non like they're distinctly separate because even in that series one of the rules is you cannot read a certain language unless if you can do magic.
yeah. Look at another good example series, Black Summoner, where literally there's skills for white magic, green magic, red magic, black magic, etc. And then there's the swordsman skill. There's the unarmed skill and all of that. Those skills are why there would be something called a power system, and then there's the magic that goes akin like next to it. And there's some things that might lead into it, like you might consider their summoning skill to be a magic system. but
Another oh, yeah, go ahead.
it, I was say, but like it's distinctly there's a difference between what is magic and what is just power.
And or, like, another one is, say, Mashal. Mashal, the main character has no magic, and that is a comedy. Yes, it's a comedy, but it is still a good example because he doesn't have magic, but he still can exert his like he does ridiculous things based off physical force. That's that's like you can like it doesn't make sense logically. No, however, it does not.
It
His
is
ability isn't.
hilarious.
His abilities themselves are not magic. Should they fall under it in some other systems? Absolutely.
Hell, he even calls out magic for it to pretend. He's like tricep magic, and you're like, fucking what? You just punch that dude in the face. What do you mean?
Yeah. Try something. No. Oh god, there's an old show from like 2014, 2015 maybe,
Don't
where
call
it's
it old.
where no, it's not old, but it's yeah, it's still like 10 years old, but
Yeah.
it wasn't very good. But the main character, his magic was canceling out any other magic in the area. So
Are you
he's
talking
like,
about a certain scientific,
no,
or no, a certain magical
no,
index?
no, I'm not talking about a
Okay.
certain magical index. But he at one point he says magical no, magical kick, and he punches the dude in the face. And the dude is like, that wasn't even you didn't even kick me. That's what makes it magical. That's what makes it magic. This is what how he responds. Um, but basically, as far as like defining what magic is, there's a few ways you can define it, and some things are on a few different systems. One is, um, does your like is imposing your will onto the outside world in a way that physics should not allow, is one way of saying it. Another one is um just basically things that allow you to subvert other laws of the world. That's basically that's a simple way of saying it, but it's not an absolute way.
Yeah. And Revo, one counterpoint to something you said, because Revo says magic is just
Oh,
science not explained yet, is while to us, like to our world, we don't have, what we come to understand as magic with, fireballs and such. But you have to consider that in a lot of those worlds, there are like the magic is broken down to a science.
I
There's a reason why when I create magic systems, one of the things I always do is I draw up mock magic circles because
so
it's magical formula.
not just that. I actually this entire series is brought on by me being pissed off by that definition.
Oh, I know.
Um, because I dislike the idea that a magic system that you know about, like how it works, becomes less magical. I dislike that thought process. I
I'm
like the
with you.
creator who said it. However, I disagree that a good magic system falls apart when you know more about it. Like it stops being magic when you learn more about it. I think in there's like a scene in like Lord of the Rings or something. It's been a long time, but I remember someone talking about it, basically saying like the elves saying we don't have magic. This is science. Or in Avatar they say, oh, it's not magic. Um it's bending. They say it's not. It's still magic, and it's not just because oh we don't understand how it works. It's just it's not because like in Avatar we know how it works.
Yeah, with Avatar, the only thing that and this is I haven't watched Korra in full,
Thank you for the
so it could
follow.
just be something. Oh, you got to follow, nice.
Yes, from Turkish beer.
Oh hell yeah. But like for me, when it comes to Avatar, again, I haven't seen Korra. The only thing that's never really explained is why the bending is locked like, because the creators, if I recall, came out and said it's not genetics, but at the same time, like,
Okay.
an earthbender and a firebender can have a kid, and it can be an earthbender or a firebender or a non-bender, but they'll never have a waterbending child unless that child is the avatar.
Hello, Turkish beer. How are you doing today? Um,
Hello.
so yeah, what you're saying, it's basically it does get kind of explained. They do also say it does, but also doesn't get completely explained. Um, they basically say, okay, spirits. The good old like the good old
To
aliens
borrow from
meme.
one of my favorite YouTube creators, it's just. Oh wait, no, that never mind. Ignore me. That wouldn't fit here.
But no, it's just spirits. Also, we are. I am doing good. Alice, I think you said you're doing good too, right?
I am doing good.
Okay, we are doing good too. Turkish beer. um, but this is gonna be a lot of ranting and raving. I'm gonna be all over the place. But so, um, it's basically spirits. In Legend of Korra, there's even like a thing where some benders get a different thing. It does also appear to be, to a certain extent, being you can technically forcefully unlock it in someone using water bending. It's hinted at that, although I don't know enough about about the books and stuff to see where they would have disproven that.
Okay, okay.
Because you can seal people's bending with water bending, which is different from Aang sealing things with spirit
I just
bending.
say I thought that was. I was say I thought that was energy bending.
No,
Oh, that's
no,
okay. Oh,
he does
oh, I
that
know what
too.
you're
He
talking
does
about. I
that.
know what you're talking
He
about.
does that as
Okay.
well. But there is actual water bending that you can that you can like turn off other people's bending that they've previously unlocked. Um, but
Interesting.
in Legend of Korra, the only reason why Korra is able to be a bender, and same with like all the previous avatars, is because of Rava. The spirits allow, like, the spirits hold the bending that they
Yeah.
for them. So it's not really the person themselves who has the bending; it's the spirits.
Yeah, but like even like the moment
Yeah, that's what Amon
to me
did. That's what I'm
personally,
talking about.
the moment you bring spirits into it, it's fucking magic. I don't
Oh
give a
yeah, it's
shit.
absolutely no. Like, Avatar was always magic. Also, we are about to get an ad on my side.
Yeah, we have one on mine, and I've run out of snoozes.
Yeah. I have one snooze left, but yeah, we're getting in 8 seconds.
Uh, mine's actually going to be over 40 seconds.
You hate what they did in Korra? You're gonna need to like explain that because
I think what Sky is saying, because here's the thing, I haven't watched Korra, but one of my favorite YouTubers who I follow a lot for world building and writing tips, because as we know, I'm a DM. I love writing. I'm a game designer, even if I haven't released anything yet. Um, and that is the fact that Avatar sets up a lot of mystery to the world building and like lets things kind of just be. And then Korra, like the Avatar, for example, is meant to be this long running mystery, that this consistency that's just in the world. And then we get to Korra, and it's a spirit that gets passed down. Just not directly from like bloodline, but it's a spirit that just goes to person, and that's what makes them special.
yeah,
And it kind of kills the importance and the mystique of being an avatar, as opposed to just who knows.
the things that I dislike about it is the inconsistencies with it. Thank you for the lurk, Iffy.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was about to
it's the
say.
inconsistencies in between it and Avatar: The Last Airbender. I did rewatch it recently, and is a little bit more palatable, but like there's definitely some inconsistencies with how bending came about that I'm not too much of a fan of.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's whole things about that. Awesome, my people are back from the ads.
Woohoo!
Woo.
Um,
Um,
But since we're on the topic of, since we're kind of on the topic of understanding, magic systems, that's kind of a pretty good segue into one of the first points we have talked about.
Yeah, true, true. Um,
Because understanding of a system kind of falls between hard and soft magic systems.
hard, yeah, hard and soft. Um, hey, would you like to go ahead and do like a little bit of an example of each?
Yeah, so hard and soft magic systems realistically is a how much the perceiver or the reader, the game player, the what have you, is able to understand the system of magic that is going on. Hard magic is something where the rules are laid out for us. We understand what the limits are fairly well. This would be something Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood I mentioned before, with its law of equivalent exchange, the fact that it takes a lot of knowledge of things, even those who have seen the truth and are able to transmute without magic or without the alchemical circles, they still need to know the components of what they're working with. Otherwise, they won't be able to transmute what they're looking for. We see something like that, even though he hasn't seen the truth with Scar, who's not able to deconstruct something if he doesn't know its makeup. And
And
another hard magic example. Oh, yeah.
uh, and also, well, I was also gonna say, it's a little. I would argue that it's like a little bit not just that. It's also just I don't know. Let me add this in after you explain what soft magic is because I kind of want to add on to. It'll
Yeah.
add on to and also yeah.
Um, so for going for soft magic, I have two examples here, but I'm only going to go on to the one that I understand well, and that's fairy tale. Soft magic is we don't understand what the upper and lower limits of this magic system are. It could be anything. A common example of this is Lord of the Rings, because the only mages we really see in it, we don't see what their bounds of their power are. We just see them doing stuff. But with fairy tale, magic is everywhere. Everybody is doing magic, and there is no limit to what magic is. There's people whose magic is to make other people spin. There's
Uh,
people with magic to call on elemental gods.
I
There's
will
no
also say
limit.
about fairy tale though is it is actually ironically a very poor representation of magic because it immediately like it breaks
Oh yeah, it doesn't give a damn about its rules.
everything after like the metal dude the metal dragon
Gotcha.
dude
Yeah.
everything after that is basically a whole different system or maybe not after him it might be after the lightning dude
Colossus.
um yeah
Well,
after one of those 2 points is when you get a completely different magic system than what you started with because in the beginning you weren't stuck with certain types of magic and you could learn any if you just put in the work. And also some people like say the one of like the adults in the guild actually knew transformation magic, but not to the same extent as other people, and could also transform other. And also, I think the guild leader could transform other people.
uh, no. So the whole thing, the magic system. Because seriously, Fairy Tale is a series that I know too well. I've literally been reading it too long and watched too much of it, and literally designed a whole tabletop around it. The whole thing with Fairy Tale's magic system is that the only thing that really is the only rules to this system realistically are that it the amount of hard work you put in is important, and then there's two types of magic. There's holder type magic, and then I don't remember what the other type is. Unfortunately, my brain's escaping me right here. Holder type magic being like the celestial spirits, Kana with her cards, where you cast your magic utilizing items. And the other type of magic is ones like dragon slaying, Makarov's Titan magic,
I
fairy law,
kind of
where
like more like inherent magic, like
yeah, I don't remember the exact term they use for it, but realistically, that's kind of the only rule. And you actually even see early in the series, I want to say the second part of the series where they're breaking into a mansion. This is where Lucy meets Virgo, and in this part, you come across these mage hunters, and they're like, "Yeah, normally mages are super weak," and then Natsu's like, "All right, bet I specialize in Constitution, motherfucker," and they're like, "Oh no."
Yeah,
But it's one of those things like the rules in fairy tale. That's why I call it soft magic, because anything really exists. We see, I don't know how far you've gotten into fairy tale. I
I
don't know if you
finished
ever
all that's
finished
been
it.
animated.
Okay, I don't. I think fairy tale's been fully animated at this
And
point.
then there's one. Okay, uh, when Zareth and the other person are reborn, that has been
Yeah, that's
animated,
perfect.
but there is
So
still like
that
stuff after that.
Yeah, so that's kind of as far as I wanted to go. Is there's we even see that it is possible to fuck up magic because of the fact that the entire thing. It, what is the name of that curse? Basically, it's like Solomon's curse or something is what is infecting both Zareth and the first guild master Mavis, who I literally had to look at the Funko Pop to remember her name. Um, and that is the more they love someone, the more likely that person's just to drop dead.
Yeah, the
And
more you love
that,
life, the more it dies, and the more you hate life, the more it flourishes.
yeah. And now, do you know why Mavis ended up with that curse?
Yeah, yeah, I remember I can't remember exactly why, but like it was the same method. It was basically the same thing that both of them did. They basically broke like what was a rule of the world pretty much.
Basically, they created a super powerful spell, but they did not follow the quote unquote rules that would create that spell a form of balance. The rule for Mavis was fairy law, where you need to count down from, I believe it's 3, it might be 10, and then you can cast fairy law. And if you fail, you get a terrible rebound. In this case, she got the death curse. So like there are rules, but we don't know what all of them are. And I said we don't know the upper and lower bounds. To me, it's a great example of a soft magic system. Definitely not a great example of a magic system. I will concede that.
So, okay, so
But
here is where I'm going to give another example.
please do.
Just talking about not from an anime, but just what people know about, say, witches, witchcraft. Witchcraft, yeah, there are rules. Yeah, there are like guidelines, stuff like that. And ironically, witchcraft is very similar to Full Metal Alchemist alchemy,
Yeah.
but it is an excellent example of magic of a loose magic system of where it works, but how it works is not explained. And like, because like with witches, because like when you look at witches, what they do, they use a lot of nature related things. Would this be like, what is the cost of their magic? Can they turn you into a frog for basically free? What is it? Are they, like it depends. There's, like curses, all this different things. It doesn't follow rules of like other magic systems. It was very much is a loose magic system on what can be done, but there's obviously limits. It's just we don't know what the costs are of their magic.
Yeah.
We don't know what is their limitations, or really if there are ones and they're the only ones who just choose not to do it. But and like that's an example of, I think, a good example of a loose magic system, even though there are rules in place, because otherwise I feel like some of the evil witches would definitely do, some more evil things, but we don't
Well,
know.
so for this, are we talking stereotypical like fantasy witches, or are we talking like real life witches and Wiccans?
No, like I'm talking about like say you lay a curse on, like, say in like fairy tales, the curse is laid upon a
Okay, so
family.
yeah, so stereotypical fairy tale ones.
Laying a curse on like like stuff like that. There's obviously rules. Otherwise, why not just curse the person themselves instead of like their child? Half
Yeah.
these people in fairy tales don't care about their child, and the reason they're getting cursed in the first place is they don't care about other people.
I shall curse your child. Good, I didn't fucking want him.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
fucked up. You were about to put a curse on the kid anyway. Yes, but I'm evil.
but not that evil.
I at least give a shit.
And
Fuck
so,
you. You know what? I'm putting it on your dog. Okay, now hold on.
your dog, you will always, your dog will never know that you accidentally stepped on his paw on accident, and you will know that it will never know that.
You will know that your dog thinks that you did it on purpose.
Yeah, yeah,
Not even that they don't know you did it as an accident. They're gonna think you did it on purpose.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
God, that'd be the worst curse.
A pebble in ye shoe forever.
Oh, oh.
Gosh, no. Like there's a bunch of different magic systems. Like there's a lot of good examples of both. Avatar is also a somewhere in between a loose and a strong magic system because we know it, but we also kind of don't.
That's the
Like,
thing. Hard and soft magic. It's a spectrum.
yeah, I mean that's how a lot of it, and a lot of it, like say, I can't remember what the fundamentals I was saying that magic falls down into because it falls down into like a certain specific types. There's like a few different types. Like a lot of the time, ones that we see often are support, offensive, and detrimental. And or like like stuff like that. And there's also like internal, external, and artifacts and potions, stuff like that. Like there's a bunch of different ways of doing magic. It's just like you have to decide all of that from the beginning.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
see,
it's gonna fall apart.
yes, like cost, rules, where
Let,
the source of magic is. You need to know
let's
all
talk
of that.
about for a second why you need to know it from the beginning. So take something small. Say your world has potions, and that's the only magical thing about it, is that you can make potions. And even if they're not big potions, the reason you need to know about that is because of a couple of things. One, how does that affect how healthcare is going to be in that world? When people get injured and stuff like that. Two, how does that affect how people, like, say the ingredients? How are people getting the ingredients? So that's going to mean that you're going to need people who gather the ingredients for you. That also means that there's likely to be centralization of that, and that could lead in a bad manner. Um, because say if just guilds go wrong,
Yeah.
but there could also be okay. Say actually, I'm gonna pull from a real world example where Britain calls India to have more snakes. This is actually something that did happen. Also, hello Z. I thought you would. I thought you might enjoy this conversation.
Hi, Z.
Um, in India, they had a snake problem during the occupation of India and stuff like that. They had a major snake problem. So the British government said, okay, so we'll let people turn in the bodies of snakes for a reward. Well, what ended up happening is people started breeding the snakes and then killing them and then bringing them to the government, and they realized this, but it was a little too late. So they canceled the program, but then everyone just released their snakes, and then it caused India to have more snakes than it started with. Stuff like that would happen in a fantasy world where it's only potions. They'd be breeding certain monsters, unless if you set up regulations in the world like monsters only spawn in dungeons, and they do spawn, they don't breed. They're not like an actual species that lives in the world normally. Like unless if you do that with the ingredients, people are going to be cultivating them in
Yeah.
possibly a dangerous way, and that's going to shape your world. That hell, some dungeons, if your world also does have dungeons, some of them might be where the caretaker has died and now it's just been taken over by their things that they've been selling the guilds. And like all that stuff gets affected, even by something as small as just our only system is potions.
There is no aspect of the world that goes unchanged when you choose to or choose not to introduce magic.
And then like okay, so this is gonna be spoilers for what's it called? Imminence and Shadow. And it's only gonna be around for a few minutes, so but Alice, are you gonna be okay with me saying this?
Yeah, no, you're fine. I've probably read past whatever you're about to talk to.
So in Imminence and Shadow, it's the end of season 2. If you've seen the end of season 2, then like people will know what's going on.
I say go for it.
Okay, so in that show, there is a the worlds are colliding, all that shit. Like they come past each other and stuff like that. Now the world that didn't previously have magic now has magic. Within only a few years, I think it's like 4 years or something like that, 5 years or whatever, in between when the main character disappears and reappears, um, the world is already in fucking ruins because of magic now just exists here, and so people have to like learn magic in order to defend themselves and stuff like that, and basically magic just that like magic being introduced that still changes everything, but like at least it doesn't have to be from the rules to begin with of that world, but you're still gonna have to have repercussions everywhere, especially how does healing work, how does stuff like this work. Also, I do actually enjoy what I've seen so far of Imminence and Shadow's magic system, of it dissipating in the air whenever it's like not near your body and shit like that. I think that is an interesting method
Oh yeah,
of doing
100%.
magic, and like so only artifacts are like the only way of actually doing true like magical feats that like you would think of when you think about magic, like the giant fire sword. The fuck you fire sword.
Speaking of artifacts, I have to look up an English name for a series real quick that I started reading. I only have it in the Japanese name. Is the problem?
Oh no.
But when we start talking about when we start talking about artifact magic, this is a series I
Hello,
really
corpse.
want to discuss. Corpse.
How are you doing?
Oh, please tell me this has an English name. Oh no, it doesn't.
What show is it?
So it's only a manga.
Oh.
Um, I almost want to just send it to you
Yeah,
and
send it
let
to me.
you try and I'm gonna let you try and butcher this name. I'm going
Pretty
to warn
high.
you now. This is a long name. Okay. Yeah. I once tried to read this to someone that's in my Friday Pathfinder game, and they were like, "What the fuck?"
What? Oh.
This is gonna be great. I need to hear this.
No, I'm not. No. Nah, you're not catching me doing that. Nah, fuck that shit.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna paste it into my chat
Oh my god.
for those curious.
Hold on, I'm
There we
seeing if it
go.
has an English name.
It does not.
It does not.
No, because it's that, and then it's alternative, and the only thing, and none of it's changed. It does not have one.
Yeah, no, it does not. Oh my god, no. Okay, so tell us about this system of this
So the
show.
reason I want to talk about this one.
Also, here, if everyone is interested in the name, that is the name.
It is a name. I honestly, I'm gonna copy it and put it on the YouTube chat as well. But anyway, the reason that I wanted to talk about this, I done something on the YouTube actually. The reason I want to talk about this one, this show this manga basically is this dude is sent from the human kingdom over to the demon kingdom. His family hates him. All of this stuff, and what you call it? And so he gets sent over there, and he is an artificer, so he creates items. And in the human kingdom, he's seen as worthless. Well, he goes to the demon kingdom, and he's given a book that the heroes, which were isekai characters, left in the demon realm, like in the demon continent. And it's just a fucking travel catalog,
Oh my god.
full of like the snake oil items. But here's the thing. They don't know that because they aren't aware of like the things that go down here. So they want him to recreate these items, and he is more than happy to do so because the humans treated him like shit, the demons treat him like a fucking genius. So he's more than happy to do it, but he's creating these items in a way that they actually do what the magazine says they would do.
So you actually want
So,
to hear
like-
something? Hold on. Do you want to hear something kind of interesting?
Yes.
You know the whole thing about it's snakes and snake oil salesman and all that stuff. You know why that's a whole saying?
Why?
Because when Chinese immigrants came over and during the railroad boom of the gold mining boom of the U.S., they brought with them snake oil, but their snake oil was from a very fatty snake that has omega-3 in it. And they would rub it on their joints and it worked wonders. And it actually did do what they said it would do. But we tried to do it with our most common snakes in the area, which do not have a lot of omega-3 oil. So it didn't fucking work.
That's amazing.
So basically, what you're saying is he used the right snakes.
Yeah. Well, so it's so funny because like it is exactly what happened. But a perfect example, the first character he meets is is like a demon girl who has no access, like she cannot use magic because her like internal magic's all messed up, and she just can't cast spells. So he finds this foot bath that says it writes your energies. So he makes it. And she uses the foot bath for an hour or something, and she becomes one of the strongest casters on the demon continent. There is a point where there's this they have these, I think they're called Ifrit, I don't remember, but the daughter of their chief literally has to wear magic armor to bind her flames because they just melt everything. What does he do? He finds a feng shui coin in the magazine that pulls in your energy and disperses it peacefully and makes it.
That's funny.
It is wonderful artifact magic because he's literally creating these artifacts that they all have magical nature to them, and just it's a great read. There's only like 12 chapters.
So talking about that, actually, it kind of brought me to something else that we did want to talk about today, and we are already like 50 minutes in and we have not even touched it. But like honestly, we should be scared to touch it because this is a rabbit hole.
We saw this coming.
Sources and costs of magic.
At least with sources, we did kind of start touching on it with the alchemy and the artifact.
We did, but we also I'm talking about sources more so in what is the cost of like why not the limitations, but like what is the cost, So there are different sources, of course, like that, like there's different types of magic, stuff like that. There's runic, there's law and stuff like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like what is the cost of you casting a spell and are using magic in whatever way. So in artifact magic, it would be potentially, say, the item breaking. Or it could put physical strain on the person, and say, especially if like the people themselves aren't very good at wielding said magic. Or say say what I mentioned earlier. You know, I mentioned radiation as a magic system. Well, then that would mean like a reactor would be a artifact.
Yeah.
And but like obviously you using it could be dangerous if used incorrectly. Chernobyl says hello. Um um but I shouldn't joke. I shouldn't have made that joke. That's a really bad joke.
See,
But
here's the problem. You said that, and I remember. I don't even remember who. Somebody made a joke when I got into their stream, and they're like, "Yeah, Chernobyl wasn't flashy enough. We need a second one." And I was like, "On it, boss!" Like it was the
God,
first thing that happened when I got in their chat.
I okay. Also, speaking about Chernobyl, the way that that incident happened is it really was a lot of human error and bureaucracy getting in the way. But ooh boy,
And that's a different discussion.
that is a different discussion.
Note to self: Jade has strong opinions on Chernobyl.
No, it's not strong opinions, but if you look into what happened, you see that it's completely human error. It wasn't a normal nuclear react. They basically just fucking ignored the warnings.
Oh, I believe it. I was just making a joke that you have passion about this.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because you know things.
The more you know about certain things, the angrier you get. So anyway, so what is mana? That's what I mean when I say what is the cost of magic? What is mana? Mana is a thing that is in a lot of different series, but it's not explained very well. Some people are like, oh, it's your magic, or say in Naruto, it is your chakra. So, but there's also other ways of limiting your magic. It isn't that. And actually, I sent this to you the other day, I don't know, last night, at the middle of the night. One of my favorite ways of doing a magic system, doing a limitation on a magic system that is not mana, or you could say it is, but it's it could be called mana, but really what it is it has a physical effect on you that isn't stamina, is your concentration. And it works especially well with systems that use imagination as the way of funneling your magic. So you know when you're like concentrating on a task or something like that, even like you can only concentrate for so long on something so hard before it starts wearing on you, not physically but mentally. You get mentally tired, and eventually, if you keep on like forcing yourself to do these mental tasks, like these tasks that require a lot of focus, you're going to mentally shut down. Like you're just not going to be able to do anything else. So it works really well with like imagination based magic systems where you're bringing your imagination to form, because it's not taking your physical stamina in order to do that. That wouldn't make sense in that system. It's taking your mental ability to create the images in your head. And say if you're like imagining a flame, like okay, so like say an imaginations based system, you're imagining flame. You're not just imagining the system could be set up so you have to imagine like things in really detailed. So in order to create a flame, you have to create how it looks, of course, in your head, and then you also have to create the warmth in your mind. That means that you can potentially create a flame as big as you want to, but you have to be able to imagine a flame like that. And it also means, hello, Jane Morgan. It also means, I hope you are doing well today, by the way. I'm just chatting. That if you cannot imagine yourself doing something, then that is your limitation.
So I actually have two things that come to mind with that kind of magic system.
Yes.
Funny enough. So I talked about it earlier. Siren is one. where the magic systems that are in there is called psi. It's a whole mental thing, and like literally, if you use psi too much, and it's all concentration and focus and
I am doing
imagination,
good. Alice
like
is also
mental
doing good.
pictures.
We are
If you
just
use
nerding
it
out.
too much, you will have an aneurysm and die.
Another example is from Danmaki. Even though their magic system isn't a, even though their magic system is not a imagination based one.
Wrong to pick girls in a dungeon. That's right.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry, I do that
is it wrong
every
to pick up girls in
time.
dungeon? Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Danmaki. So the thing with their system, if you get if you use too much magic, you don't physically get tired, you pass out. You just, your mind just, like, it's called minds down, because you just can't think anymore. You've used up all of your mental abilities for that day, like, until you've rested. And that works as a recharge method too. And that's why concentration, or like the mental load, instead of being a strict mana thing, is one thing that I enjoy as a system, especially because it also things like, the more you do a spell, the more you do this magic thing, the less fatiguing it will be. If it is like a concentration one specifically, not just a mental load one, but if it is a concentration one, it benefits you doing something over and over and over until it becomes habitual. Not habitual, but like, where it's like reinforcing the idea in your head pretty much, until you can just bring it about whenever you want without it taking as much of a mental toll.
Yeah, a degree of mastery over the thing where
Right.
it's second nature.
Also, how are you doing today, Jane? I'm gonna need to get more water. I've talked so much.
Now, real quick, Fangy, I don't know with Star Wars because of the fact that
Hold on,
the
give
Force.
me 1 second.
Yeah.
I gotta answer this question. I've been streaming since like 2 years ago, ish, two-ish years ago. Also, I do need to get water.
Not a problem. You go get water. Fangy has a question about Star Wars for when you get back.
Okay.
And now I'm here alone. There's no one here beside me. My problems have all gone. I can't say that. Jade is one of my favorite people. Yo, can we just like in both chats, can we give Jade a ton of love? Jade deserves it. Jade is a wonderful person. Like, don't tell Jade I told you. Like this basically was Jade's idea, and Jade came to me and was like, "Hey, is something I want to do with you?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm in." So like, let's give Jade a bunch of love because Jade is wonderful. I know you're here, Revo. Are you saying that you are one of my problems, Revo? Is that what's going on? Jade is amazing. One is the loneliest number that there ever was. Two is just as bad as one.
Sorry, I'm back.
No, you're fine.
I
I was
I
entertaining them with song.
I was trying to figure out which earbud each like which earbud goes into which ear, because it's actually the more comfortable way is backwards from what it says on them.
You know, I've had that before. For the longest time, I refused to buy the earbuds that go around your ear for that reason.
Yeah.
But the pair I have now is perfect, and it blows my mind. It was $20 at Walmart.
Plus, you only need one.
Yeah, exactly. I actually got annoyed. I left it at work the other day.
Oh no!
Like, last week.
Also,
and
sorry. Go ahead.
I can't use the left one.
I also 64. I hope you enjoy that process, and I'm glad that you're doing well, Jane. Star Wars question.
Yes, so Fangy had mentioned the magic system of the Force is implied to be external rather than internal. And I don't know. because
It's
midichlorians,
inconsistent.
the Star Wars series, like some other series that are very problematic in this kind of nature, have had so many hands in it, it's very hard to tell
Okay,
what is what.
so it is an external system as far as I can tell as well. I'm not deep into Star Wars. It is very much a magic system. But
100%.
yeah, but it's kind of like I would say it's the cost of Star Wars magic system is you have to use your stamina of some sort in order to um enter like into interact with it. You have like you because otherwise there's too big of force like differences in strength of force for it to be purely external. Thank you for saying that, Jane. Oh, it is
That is a. I was calling for people to give you love while you were gone.
no.
Now here's where I'm going to pull some Star Wars knowledge that I have. I have played the Star Wars Fantasy Flight tabletops, and I understand that those are probably about as canon as I don't know this Pink
Nothing's canon in Star
Rangers
Wars anymore. What do you
power.
mean?
Exactly, it's about as canon as the fucking Toyota Supra Pink Ranger car I have on my desk. Um, and here's the thing: in that series, there's not really a limit to how much you can cast of spells. It's just you have a balance, and you're either Jedi or you're Sith. And like if you keep fucking it up, you'll start falling Sith, or if you're a Sith and you keep fucking it up, you'll start heading Jedi path.
Not well,
And like
not just that, but like
even
there's just so big of jumps between like what individual people can do. Like why could like how much force you can reach at a time.
yeah, and it's one of those things like I feel like I feel like the Force is heavily on the soft magic side of the spectrum. To go back to an earlier topic, because of the fact that we've seen people who at most what they can do is they can force push like a couple of droids, and yet there's tales of Jedis and other force sensitive individuals throwing planets,
Yeah.
and
Um
it's
there's also like a lot of inconsistency with that. And also to answer your question, Jane, about why I don't have sub badges, I haven't gotten them made yet. Being a VTuber is expensive.
it is.
I literally have a just
I've
chatting
taken the
stream.
cheap route.
Okay, so like right now we do have this art canvas thing up here in case we didn't have anything that we want like a drawn example of. And I'll do a very poor job about drawing it. But in the future, I will have like sometime in the future, I will have like an actual just chatting screen. But it's expensive.
I
Ooh, it's
literally,
expensive.
literally, I have the sound foam background I drew, and that's it. That's what I have up. Oh, and I have your drawing tablet up as well. Although Discord keeps hiding it on me.
Well, it's not just the inner potential. So 64 says I would say it's more like what you're saying, Jade. It is an outward thing, but it is definitely dependent on the inner potential of the force user. It's not just about potential. It's also just like how in touch with it you are. But even then, as someone with the force gets tired, they like who has access to the force gets tired, they can't access as much of it. And and I guess that's shown more in like time and time again. Like they as they get physically tired, they're not able to use it as much force. And like same thing with like say in Avatar, um they're they have a cost for their system. It's physical stamina.
Yeah,
It's not a one-to-one, but
I mean
they do have
you
a
can't throw hands for hours.
um but it is a uh like there is definitely a cost. Also how much your artist charge be so my so like different things, different like artists overall charge far too little because art is really a luxury.
Yep.
um my model for example was before the price raised on it, and it was to get it modeled and rigged it was like 210 because I
That's
had
really low.
yeah I know, and I like I she did a good job with it.
Hell
um
yeah.
And then with the one I'm doing for the background, because I did get something special because it's not going to be, it's also going to be an animated picture and stuff like that. Like that's going to be like more than my model. Like it's going to cost more than my model for the background.
Well, it was
But
so
like
worth
say,
it.
but then like yeah, no, it'll be completely worth it. But like say my emotes, um, let's see which ones.
At some point, I'll get some good emotes.
Um, I'm trying to figure out which ones are a good example. Or I mean, like some emotes have cost me nothing because they've been gifts. Some of them have been. I do not have a Discord server, unfortunately. I do not have the mods in order to mod it for all the time zones I have viewers from. um, but I will make one in the future. I just gotta get more mods.
Just
Um,
just do what my one friend did. Just be like, hey, you were active at this time. You seem to have a decent head on your shoulders. Discord mod.
but say like my some of my emails like were like little less than $10. Some of them were a little bit more. Like one of my emotes was the animated one. Was more expensive because it's an animated one.
Yeah, those are gonna be expensive. I know my dusty waving emote, like of all of my emotes, took me the longest.
And I love my emote, but I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think that the artist would have done a good job. So like artists a lot of times will undercharge because like a lot of people don't know the value of art. But and that's unfortunately
And
what that artist did,
that's why you
and
just tip them a good amount of money.
also continue being a repeat customer.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my emotes are done by Bonnie. My background is gonna be made by Bonnie and stuff like that.
If I can get the money, I might actually get the person who did my profile picture to do a 2D model for
So
me, just so I can do the TD crossovers.
so
But that's a whole other topic.
Jane, the reason why my whisper is shut right now is because I mean I can open it, but um actually I don't know how to. But no, the reason is because used to I'll look into it after stream. There used to
Yeah.
be an issue where you can also DM me on Twitter if you wanted to DM me. Here, exclamation mark social. Um, that's not how you spell social. But I will say I'm not going to guarantee just because you contact me that I will get something from you. Um, but like that's I get a lot of my stuff from the same people over and over because I like their stuff.
Yeah, as it should be. Anyway, we were talking about custom magic.
Yes, cost of magic. Um, the so there's the physical stamina. There's the mental load. Another one is physical materials. Thank you for the follow. Um, there's mental loads as well. I will ask a stream, Jane. I just got I want to focus on this right now. Um, so there's the mental load of it all. Not mental load. There's a physical. There's a physical like object external costs, right?
Yeah.
So say in D&D, you need spell components, and in order to cast these spells, you have to like have the spell components. Otherwise, you won't be able to do it. Or
Yeah,
say
Fireball
in
requires bad shit.
or say in like in fantasy things of like a lot of like fantasy witches, they have to use physical materials for like their potions, stuff like that. Of course, alchemy requires some physical costs as well.
Equivalent exchange.
Artifacts are a physical item that is being used in your magic. So there's a bunch of different things um, that require magic in order to work. There's a lot of ways that you can use the cost of magic. There's a series on YouTube actually where someone is using gold and bone Wait, you're actually supposed to use material components in D&D? Supposedly.
That's what I'm told. But
You're also
fun
supposed to
fun
use your
thing.
rations.
Well, so fun thing I've realized not a lot of people have read, or I might have just misremembered being in the book. It might be just in an older book too. Is that the point of like the caster focuses? You know, the arcane wand, the druidic have the U, the stick of the U or whatever. Those replace any material components that don't have a cost.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of those.
So, and like, then there's also things like, oh, things that can amplify magic and like help reduce the strain. I once again I will after stream. I'm not doing anything of that right now on stream. Um, but with with your like with different magic systems, like okay, say like focuses, like I was saying focuses. Focuses can be used in order to make it easier the load of or whatever, or you can like or like what you're saying, you can have things that like help stand in for the material costs.
Yeah.
um in my lore there's a whole system I have a whole system with my staff to lessen the burden of casting big spells, and like I haven't talked about this too much, but um uh but like the if you look at my hold on, let me pull up my stuff.
We're getting that juicy jade lore.
Let's see, hopefully this isn't fucking okay. um I'm glad y'all can't see this. Okay, so on my staff we have all these like cracks in it and all this stuff in my stuff, and there's the center gem, and then there's the I have like 6 on the outside. Are you still okay? Good, it is still sharing screen.
Yeah. Yeah, I can still see it.
So it has like all these different crystals on the outside. So the lore behind it is that one, the cracks are from magic coursing through it in the past. Um, and the outside stuff is like for different classes kind of magic. They'll use whichever one's the best, but like, and then the inner gem is basically so a magic storage, and uh also an expelling thing way to do it so that those outside magic gems don't break, because if too much magic goes through them, they'll break. The same reason I don't just cast everything on my own is because my whole soul is inside this middle gem, and I don't want to fucking break that gem. So I store magic in my staff and then use it for big massive spells. Once again, Jane, I'll have to look at it after stream. Um, I can't look at it right now.
So I got a stupid question for you, because I don't remember from when I made my Fugi. Is the Fugi like just drop really low, or is that just the size of it?
Huh?
Because with my Fugi, because I was actually gonna talk about the fact that like you and I kind of have a similar thing going on here. If you go off of my Fugi and your and the picture you have up,
Mm-hmm.
because the Fugi, and I'm going to show it over on my screen at the very least, is this is the picture I had done for when I had modded Etrian Odyssey. And you can see I have the array of slimes because much like you, I just have that other magic stored. But unlike storing in a staff, I have my slimes for that.
Yeah, and normally I wouldn't store in stuff. It's just there's a few other lore reasons as to why I do,
Yeah.
and part of it is how I produce magic, which is another thing that we can talk about. I love how my character produces magic in my lore. Another thing I haven't talked about, but not much. But basically a very simple method of explaining it is my character or like the people in this world produce magic via maintaining homeostasis in their own body. So you recover from being sick, or you or anything like that. Like say if you're recovering from a hangover or something like that, you're gonna produce some magic that you're gonna have stored away from in the future. But um and that's my lore explanation as to why I'm sick all the time in real life.
Hey, if it works, it works.
But that also means people in my world, in my lore's world, will intentionally weaken themselves in order to produce more magic. That's why a lot of well known, like that's why in my world, a lot of the better known mages and like casters are more sickly, is because they've made themselves sick in order to succeed in at magic. But like then you can make yourself too sick, you can die, and or you can make yourself too healthy and not be able to produce magic like you want to.
What a fine tightrope.
Yeah, and then there's entire species that have depositions for magic and don't, or to not produce it. Once again, Jane, it's all going to have to wait till after stream. I'm really sorry, but it's going to need to wait. And I'm still live for another 40 minutes easy.
Yeah.
But um, so the what was it saying? So like say like dwarves, say like dwarves in my world. I honestly don't like talking about dwarves because like in like fantasy sense, because a lot of people really get really butthurt about them if they're not like the Tolkien dwarves. But
yeah, were you the one who I was talking about dwarves when I was working on Essia and was like, you got to make sure you're being careful when you put that in because people will crucify you.
otherwise, I wouldn't use another name for them. But I can't. I'm bad at making up names. There's a reason why Jasper's species does not have a name at the moment. It's gonna be like Frieza species in Dragon Ball. We're just never gonna it's a name. But so basically they're really hardy and stuff like that. Like they, I also love the dwarves in my world because I've like they don't get sick, they don't get drunk easily, they never get hungover. But that also means they don't produce like any magic. Like are hardly any at all. And even when they do, even if is one that's born sickly, then most of the time they don't know how to because a lot of their countries don't have magic passed down in them except for from travelers. Though they typically do end up making like really good enchanted items because you like they exert the magic when they're making their items, which is a whole different field. But then they have to worry about their foods and stuff because I love the idea of dwarves using deadly toxins as seasonings. Using their natural
poisoning.
And so for other species, they just use basic things like salt. No, they don't even use salt because they're like, well, humans wouldn't eat rocks, would they?
I don't know. I make that joke a lot, how people eat rocks.
So like I like the idea of like their food is really flavorful and stuff, but like they don't serve it to their guests because it'd be super deadly. So that's all stuff that has to do with like lore, like my personal lore, but like that has to do with like magic and stuff. Like the way it's produced in my world is completely different from actually what I've seen in others. But
well, that's the thing. Like it all comes down to the world building. Welcome, Weedy Bread. But like even to go against it, like my world, because we've both done a ton of world building on our own stuff.
Yeah,
clearly,
stuff that may or may not ever get released.
Yeah, I know. I've debated making a lore channel on my Discord so I could just start lore dumping. Anyway, hello everybody. You're gonna get the first drop of actual Alice and Dusty lore that wasn't question provoked. Um, in my world, it is just primarily aether that flows through everybody, flows to the world, and everybody can manipulate the aether within them and start corrupting the land around them if they run out of their own and force it. But the ability to manipulate aether is determined by what is called a calling. These are basically what are our souls. I was born with the monster tamer calling. It turned into the slime tamer calling because I wouldn't stop taming slimes, and my abilities are reflected by that. My brother has the soul of the archmage, which makes me hilarious that one of my closest friends is also an archmage. Um, but for him, magic, aether manipulation, it comes super easily. Hi Yoshi. He can manipulate it there's no instance. And these callings can be as fantastical as Monster Tamer, Archmage, and stuff like that. And they can be as simple as just the blacksmith, the carpenter, the drunk. These are just things that happen, and you don't have to submit to your calling, but your calling can influence the kind of things you can do. And in my world, it's literally just you draw the ether from yourself, and if you run out, sure, pull it from the ground. You're going to wither the grass, pollute the lake. You know, I don't really know what would happen if you tried to pollute a desert, but it sure as hell wouldn't be pleasant. Like it just you have your limit, but you can pull past it if needed.
Yeah, and another thing, talking about like world building and stuff, that is like a whole nother dealio. And actually, this is a problem that like I didn't solve ahead of time, and I should have. Is there there are any wizards in my lore? Yeah, there are wizards. I mean, like, so the difference between like a wizard and like a mage is just like it. Okay. There's like specific things that make things different. Like it's all like mages are more of like the researchers who are like leading the research on magic. Wizards are more of like the people who are just really good at casting it. If that makes sense.
Theoretical versus applied.
Yeah, okay, it's like a cook versus a chef. A chef is like exploring recipes, stuff like that.
Well, I was going to paint it as like,
And a cook is using what's already there.
I was going to paint it as like there's people who understand musical theory, and then there's people who are excessively good at instruments. These
Exactly,
are
yeah.
not always the same people.
Yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
understand musical theory, and even ignoring my hand, I'm okay at guitar.
But like you're not the one exploring it.
Yeah. So like, you can do one, like there can be combinations, I'm sure, but there are kind of distinctive sides of it.
So basically, that's what it is. It's like the mage is the person who's doing all the research, and like yeah, some you can do like research as a wizard and stuff like that. Um, yeah, the wizards can sell stuff. Everyone, hey, you gotta make money somehow, and like the wizard, like people in my lore, it's usually by either doing favors or by selling things. Um, that's just how things are. They do. Um, and but like also something this is actually going to be a English language thing. There can be female wizards and male witches because those
Yeah.
are not the same thing.
Yeah.
That good stuff, that might be your local druid or witch that sells that good stuff.
Go to your local alchemist. They will have everything you
No,
want.
no, that it's more botany for I think what corpse is wanting.
I mean, depending on where you go, alchemy is just
Apothecary
mixing
maybe
things.
for some things.
Yeah,
Depends what
yeah.
you're going for.
I would like 4 doses of crack cocaine.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Oh god, I'm just remembering like a stupid audio of just don't do school, stay in drugs. Are you okay? What was your order?
What was your um Gosh.
We keep derailing, and I'm enjoying every
No,
second of
it's
this.
great. It's great. This is ADHD simulator. This is ADHD simulator. Like you get to hear two ADHD people's thought process as we struggle to stay on topic.
But you know what? I give us credit. It took us almost an hour and a half to fully derail.
Well, okay. I mean, we're fair. Yeah, we're fair.
All right. An hour and 15 to fully derail. I'd say.
I wouldn't. We could talk about a little bit for like skills, like how certain skills do work as a magic, like when they're like, kind of intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like with say taming skills, or say what you're saying
Yeah.
with everyone being actually there's a series right now that actually has a similar thing, and ironically the main character is a slime tamer.
There's a few series that have
No,
inspired
no,
my
I
lore.
know, but like
Yes.
currently airing as like the weakest
What's it
slime,
called?
like the weakest tamer or something like that.
I'll have to look up whatever. You'll have
Um,
to send me the name of it later so I can binge watch it.
but well, it's only a couple of episodes are out now. Only a few episodes are
Again,
out.
you'll have to give me the name of it so I can binge watch what's out.
So anyway, in this world, everyone has a predisposition to certain skills or talents that is given to them by the gods or by the magic of the world, whatever. And the like it's based off a star system, so you get like 1 2 3 stars in something, or if you're the main character you get 0 stars and you're fucking, you can only tame the weakest slime there is. um but that is like known to die within a day. um so in that series, her dad is a carpenter, like a 2 or 3 star carpenter, and it's one of those things where like, yeah, talents do exist in real life, but like this is a whole nother level. This is like, this decides your life because you can't even like, you can't get as good, like it seems, as far as the show has shown so far, it seems like you cannot get as good as someone who has that skill if you do not have that skill, no matter how much you practice. Like you are like, because it just is that much talent that it gives you. So um it's an interesting concept for that, but um does it, how does it work in practicality? How would the world come to be in that practicality? Well, it didn't come to be with that system because that would have been a really shit system for the world to be created under. At least that's what's being hinted at right now. Because imagine you're creating a civilization, you have a civilization that's forming and stuff, and you don't have anyone who can build houses. Not because they don't know how to, but because there's some limitation that makes it so you cannot get past a certain point from practice. You know?
Yeah.
It would have been awful for that world. So it seems, as hinted at, that the system of people getting stars is a recent, not recent, but like was caused by a spell that organized things to create peace.
It came about after civilization had begun to be established.
It was a new law added to the world. And I think stuff like that's really interesting. Say, once again, going back to Lock Horizon, where he creates a law for the world. That is an amazing moment because it shows, one, this world that is changing in a way like that is confusing and changing still has laws, and two, they can be forcibly changed by the inhabitants of them. And it's not just the world that is being changed by that, it is the entire universe of that world. Like it's the entire system, it's the laws of that reality is being changed. And that's interesting. And in that, it was done by contract magic. But how do you make a contract with with reality? I don't fucking know.
Well, that's the thing. It goes back to, again, like early in this discussion. I'm having a great evening, Aramis. I hope you're having a good one as well. Early in this discussion, we had talked about setting up your rules and making sure that you don't break them, but being aware of when you can change them. Like, obviously, you have to take into account how crazy of a magic system you're building for that kind of thing. You don't want to build a magic system where the strongest magic that mortals, I'm going to specify mortals, can harness is lighting a candle or blowing out a candle. Very minor, what many worlds would consider cantrips.
Yeah.
You don't want to make something like that and then say, this wizard can rewrite reality. Because
It's
that wizard is out of fucking place.
yeah. And
They need to go.
yeah, and unless of it you find out later on that, oh, the reason why no one else can use magic is because of that wizard.
Yeah. And at that point, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Um, I've actually had, so in the Wednesday 5e campaign I run, I have a homebrew magic system called Ancient Magic. It is magic that you have to be taught by an ancient being. The dragons can teach it to you. Abyssal creatures like, aboleths and such can teach you abyssal ancient magic. But the whole thing with the ancient magic is it's unreliable. It takes a long time to cast. Literally, it can only be cast ritualistically.
Insert Eminem track. Rewrite reality.
And then to cast a spell, there's no ancient magic is not utilized the same way 5th edition spell slots are. So with that kind of magic, you actually spend multiple spell slots up to whatever that spell is. So if you want to cast a 15th level spell, which is not going to be this world ending level spell because it's ancient, it's unrefined. So it might be an equivalent of a 5th level spell or a 7th level spell, but you still have to spend 15 spell levels worth of slots to cast it.
So
And these can have these amazing effects, but it is a rewriting of magic rules that I kind of had to take a lot of care into creating.
okay, so one that reminded me of something I did actually want to talk about, and two, it also reminded me of something else. I wanted an idea that I wanted to give you for any D&D campaigns. Where I saw this idea the other day, where liches could use spells from previous editions of D&D. The ancient things could use spells from old editions of D&D in the forms that they were in that way. Because they're an ancient being. These are lost spells.
I just have to say this to make one of my favorite YouTubers happy, despite the fact I know he will never see this video. I am going to have a lich that casts sticks to snakes. And if you know who that YouTuber is, clip this, tag him, get him to see this, please.
Okay,
I
so
love this idea, and he would too.
the other thing, and why, and this is going back to, once again, why it's important to set up things from the beginning. Another reason why we're doing this fucking thing.
It's time.
Huh?
I have somebody in my chat I'm saying hi to.
So if you have magic in your world, why the fuck are you stuck in the Middle Ages?
Yes.
This pisses me off. Unless if there's a reason for it. And okay, I'm going to pull from there's very few things that actually explain why this is. And I'm going to say one of them. But it's fucking ridiculous.
I'm sorry, Revo just tried to clip, and the clip URL is fit succulent doot rickroll.
You know what? It fits. For what we're about to say.
Oh no.
So I have
You
not.
have my undivided
No,
attention.
I'm gonna start this out by saying I have not watched this show. However, I do know about the ending, and I do like
Okay.
about a clip that said in the ending, and also something that happens in the show. So basically, in this fantasy world, it's they see into our world and see, oh, we have things like planes and stuff like that. And like, oh, how convenient. Um, and at the end of the show, it's just like as far as I know, it's not brought up until like the end of the show, where it's just like, oh yeah, did you ever think about like learn how we could do these planes things? Like, yeah, but our magic interferes with with their form of technology, so we can't have that here. There, it makes sense for it to be um for where it isn't like they don't have like super advanced technological feats because they can't utilize their magic with technology in the same way that like you could like in like you couldn't like you could in say Log Horizon, where they very quickly are going through the industrial era using magic and technology. Also, that show is interspecies for viewers. um, Once again, have not seen it. Only know about that thing.
Well, unfortunately, I have seen Interspecies Reviewer. Never saw that episode because we stopped watching by that point. I
So,
forgot you had told me you were going to talk about that.
yep, yep.
So
But
here's the thing, and
but like it gives a good explanation as to why you're not stuck, like why they are not stuck in a um or why they are not called like either called up or past where we are before, like where we are. So like maybe attack no, maybe Avatar: The Last Airbender, yes, because after the war ends, that's another way that could hold back technology, because while war can drive technology, it also holds it back. You see how during the war, a lot of places do not have electricity. A lot of places, um, they're not very industrialized at all. After the war in Avatar, they now have electricity. They use lightning bending on the regular to power machinery, to power cities, use their flames and stuff like that, all to power things in ways that were not possible before because of the war. That is another explanation as to why things could be held back.
now here's something I have to say. We're getting into a conversation, and I've been told I have a bit of a controversial take on a series that I don't care for how they handled the tech, and that's Naruto.
Oh yeah, no, that well, like it's one of those things of being at war and having to keep secrets from each other. But yes,
See, my problem with Naruto is that we get a glimpse of of how advanced technology is in the first Naruto movie, which was Clash in the Land of Snow, where there's the movie makers that have the cameras and they have the like trolley thing that has an engine on it. But like technology in that time is still, I would place it probably circa 1920, 1910. And yeah, there's the war going on, but as soon as the war is over, we skip ahead, what is it, 15 years
like
into
10,
Boruto?
12.
10, 12 years. And they have fucking cell phones. They're, you don't have,
It kind of does make sense because they already had certain capabilities like that
wait,
beforehand
but then the
with
question
their
comes up.
jutsus.
Why are, then the question comes up that bugs me of why is this tech being introduced if we have the alternative? If I can use teleportation magic, why would I ever get a car? If I can use
The
this jutsu to contact people, why would I get a cell phone?
the reason is
Normal
because
people,
not
yeah, I'm not going to argue.
yeah, that's exactly why. It's because it's for normal people.
But like even like the ninja are also using all of this. And
Yeah,
it
but it also makes their
creates
lives easier.
this. Yeah, but like I say, it's one of those things like the technology in Naruto tends to be a bit inconsistent in my opinion
You
because
know,
we
it
even
does.
see they have radio receivers from the get go. Because if you remember, one of the first missions that they go on, they're chasing down the cat. I'm
Yeah.
like 99% sure I recall them having earbuds with radio technology.
No, you're not wrong. And like that's the big
What
that's why
the
I'm saying like
fuck?
that's why I'm saying like they already had like the precursors to a lot of this stuff beforehand. It's just
It never
the
felt consistent to me.
it didn't, but you're right, it doesn't because it's Naruto.
And like that's one of the things, like you have to, what for me, and I know not for everybody, I'm one of those people that when I do world building, I take a lot of what I actually intrinsically know about things. And I will sit down and I will learn things and justify world building through those things.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
that's the thing with like the whole point of starting with magic is it can lead you to like figuring out everything else about the world as well as also it being something you have to set up before you set up the rest of the world.
yeah. A series I think that handles a technological revolution very well is Reincarnated as a Slime. And this is
Also
going to be spoilers. Good.
before you say that, I do want to say something about Legend of Korra because Z says Korra enters the industrial era, very steampunk. Yes, and while some of their and like their very quick advancements make perfect sense with metal bending, with fire bending, lava bending, you know, like being able to produce electricity at will and all that shit. Like being able to extremely heat and cool things at like very easily. All of that makes sense why they advanced super quickly. Then they kind of lost the plot a bit and made
A bit.
super mecha spirit beam laser, you know, machines made out of pure titanium.
Yeah. I'm
And
probably never going to
which
watch Korra.
which the problem with the titanium is they're like, oh, it's too pure to bend, which means like, okay, so like any advancements that you're making with it shouldn't have been as quickly.
Yeah.
But like,
That's like
yes, things, but
titanium's a very hard metal to work with.
but like something like, you know, as we make technological advances, they like things do speed up in how quickly the advancements are made, but that went a little too fast. That went
Yeah.
into futuristic for us when they were still supposed
Yeah.
to be catching up.
But like so kind of going to what I was going to say though. And spoilers for Reincarnated as a Slime. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. What's wrong with you? Anyway, when it comes to Reincarnated as a Slime, technology exists, but it hasn't gone very far because there hasn't been a need for it. They have magic, so they don't really need to do anything crazy. Like they don't need
They don't
these
need to make an
hyper-powered
elevator.
steam engines. They don't need these water heaters. They could just use magic. But Rimuru comes around and goes, well, not everybody can use fire magic, but if we put a fire rune in this faucet, bam, no need for a water heater
or with
because the water's going to heat itself.
the teleportation magic, using that instead of an elevator.
You know?
Yeah.
Although teleportation magic, I will give him credit or give the series credit. They here's all right. I'm going on another controversial rant here. Isekais have this major problem where they put in the main character and then they make the main character stupidly overpowered and unstoppable. And as much as I love slime, like reincarnated as a slime, it does that too.
Oh no, it does that so much because if you look at the actual systems for its like power system completely, like not just the magic shit, every single bit of it does not work. Like it is Rimuru breaks every part of it.
There is a reason that in my lore I have so many slimes that allows me the versatility I have, and I don't just have Dusty. But the whole thing with Rimuru and Isekai's always is, but with the teleportation magic, they set up teleportation magic as you cannot do this. Nobody does this because it is very dangerous and will kill all of your armies. And then within 37 seconds, Rimuru goes, got it. We can do it. And everyone goes, oh, fuck it. That's Rimuru, I guess. And you're like,
well, okay.
huh?
Counter argument. specifically for his slime.
Okay.
At that point, he had Raphael, and Raphael basically gets him the lets him basically like basically gives him super knowledge about like anything. He can analyze any spell and all that stuff. He already knew teleportation magic, so he just perfected it.
Yeah, but like that's
Yeah,
my
it
whole
was
thing.
effortless
Like,
as hell, but that's just isekais. That's power fantasy
yeah,
isekais.
exactly. My controversial anger rant was at isekais in general because, quite frankly, if you're going to give me an overpowered main character, at least have them pretend they're in trouble. Fucking Misfits of Demon King Academy, I think, handles the overpowered protag well because Otto's Voldigo is such a rabid cunt. He will, and I apologize if that word's not cool on your channel. I know I've said it multiple times on your channel. He will literally walk into a situation and go, "Oh no, I'm at a disadvantage.
Now
Bitch,
we're
joke's on
still,
you."
and oh no, I'm handicapped. Still not enough though. Let me kill you 14 times.
Just, if I lose this game, I can't use magic for 10 seconds. Got it. All right, I've lost the game. Cool, now we can kill you. You fool, I already cast my magic.
Yeah, exactly.
Why was there tension in this scene? And that is how overpowered characters should be handled. Where they
Or
just play along because they know they are unstoppable.
well, like, or Eminence in Shadow, or like
Eminence in Shadow is another really good example because of the fact that he just thinks people are playing along with a game.
no. Okay, he is fucking nuts, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
Agreed. You
Um,
realize at some point now we're gonna have to do like an anime podcast in addition to this, right?
shut up. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So, talking about the what I wanted to actually speak out, and this is why we're going over 2 hours. The history of magic in most worlds doesn't make sense. I was kind of already saying that with how a lot of things already put us in medieval times when we have magic that allows us to do a lot of fucking shit. Or medieval, not medieval, but like medieval or industrious or something, or like somewhere in between there.
Yeah.
Um, but more so, and this is where people might not like my opinion. Certain things don't make sense, such as true language of the world. Going back to why I hate Aragon's magic system. I don't like the whole there's a true name for the world for like certain items, certain things. Or the way or there's like a special language for the magics. Why? Give me
Oh
a
my
logical
gosh.
reason. Give me a fucking logical reason why there is a language for the magics. What gives this language power over the magics when that language does not? What gives these runes powers over magic versus those runes versus
Okay,
like
you know what?
normal text?
I'm gonna stop you for 1 second. I just got raided, so
Oh,
I'm gonna welcome them real quick.
yes.
I don't know if you want me to mute while I do so.
No, go ahead.
All right. Hello, Raiders. Thank you so much for coming by, Zabby. I hope your stream was great. My name's Alice. Everybody's yeah, I can't talk. Everybody's favorite slime tamer, variety streamer, gaming, art, music, game design. Currently talking about world building with one of my closest friends, Jade the Archmage. Also worth giving a follow. Thank you so much for the raid, and I hope you have a wonderful night. If you gotta run, not a problem. If anyone wants to add into the conversation, has questions about world building, feel free to throw them in chat. And yeah, anyone in my chat, please go follow Zabby. Really awesome girl. She's mad chill, and she's also part of Elysium. So definitely worth following. Anyway,
Okay,
continue with your
my rant.
yes, your
Okay,
controversial rant.
so there's no anyway. Most magic systems don't explain why certain things have more power. Why there are words of power. Why there are things that have more power over the world, over magic than any other. There are ways to give things power. Yeah, like the one of the ways that I've thought about is yeah, you can have like you can there's a few different ways that you could like solve this. One of the ways that I like is yes, you can imbue things with magic, and they will continue to cast said magic for X amount of time until it runs either out of magic or cannot absorb anymore or whatever. It depends what you have it set, like whatever your setting allows. Um,
Mm.
Personally, I like the environmental magic, and like there's magic in the environment that gets used up. That's one of the ones I like because it allows you to do things like lampposts made from with things that are imbued with magic, and so they'll light up at when it gets dark. It'll light up with the magic will cause them to light up, and then they'll spend the next day recharging. You know, trying to absorb more magic that they would have lost in between. That's like something that you can do with that, or like you could have
Aragon has an in-world explanation as to why the ancient language was tied to magic.
it. Um, it does and it doesn't. It's the true names of things, but like who decides the true names? And you can have things that are the embodiments of the world, maybe choose those names. And it's another way of solving the issue is having something say if you have like say in your world, fairies are the messengers of the world. They're born from the world. They're messengers of the world. So then you can like if you say that, then it's like okay, then their names are the reason why. The other way you can do it, and actually the way that I prefer, is to not have a set name and stuff like that be why things work, but have it be basically association. Is this works better with like systems that like use mental imagery or stuff like that as ways of doing magic. And if you do it via association, then it can allow for stuff like basically runes or hieroglyphs. They pass a message like it's just an image that we use for say heat, you know, and it's something that gets passed down and people like learn from is next like they learn it again like oh that means heat so they'll you know and it might be their association with it when they're inscribing it and the magic they're putting into it when they're inscribing it that causes it to work as a heat spell but it's just a reminder of it and or like say chants why are you doing magic chants well it could be once again it's something to help you focus and remind yourself of what you're trying to do and allow you to focus on what you're wanting to do. So that's why like bigger spells require longer chants. Is because if you chant, you're reminding yourself exactly what you're wanting the spell to do as you're casting it. That's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah. Now, supposedly, and again, I am just being a middle bitch here. I have never read or watched or anything with Aragon other than my conversations with you. According to Yoshi, that entire thing is a fallacy the author purposely presented. I don't know. Now, one thing I will say is I actually am kind of in favor of words of power. Um, you've seen my mad scrawlings, and if I had an inkling of where my tiny notebook was, I'd pull it out. I love the idea of an ancient language full of words that have influence on the things where I don't like true name. I will agree with you there. But like, for example, if there is a word of power for flame, I love the idea that word can create and manipulate flame and is, part of why I do a lot of magical formula and such when crafting my magic systems is because of the fact that it plays so into it. And that's just one thing I wanted to add in is like I'm actually a big fan of words of power.
I think it can work, but like it's just it has to do you have to I feel like a lot of people and you don't have to explain everything about magic but isn't it something to keep in mind because a you might want to I mean you might want to come back to it in the future
Yeah, and that's the
um
thing. Like,
but like say and actually it's talking about misfit of demon academy with specifically the fairies their entire like being is in their lore. If they go against their lore, then they will disappear. So one thing they do is rewrite the lore. And it's like, does your system allow it to be rewritten? Does your system like what being or what system of the world allowed these things to be given these powers, and how were they discovered? How did you find out that the, say in Aragon, how did you find out that the true name, or like the word of power, because it's essentially the same thing in this case, of fire is Brazinger? How did you find that out? Or not just you specifically, but like sentient beings. And like that's the part that I'm like, you have to have a reason why things know things. Like you have to
Yeah,
have a reason why the world, like these words and stuff, are passed down if you're going to have it be that system, and that way it can be referenced in the future, and like you can do something with it. So once again, so many things that we're talking about we love dearly, but because we
oh yeah,
love it, we're gonna
we're
nitpick it.
more critical about it. And Yoshi, I am reading it. I'm trying not to interrupt Jade when they're talking.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
I am reading your. No, no, you don't apologize. Yoshi apologize.
No, we both
um,
apologize.
that fuck everybody. Revo apologize. Wait, no. So here's the thing. Because it's also like, yes, Jade. What Jade knows may not be the full story. I don't know Jade's personal.
I haven't
Um,
read the latest book, and it's been a while since I read the previous ones.
yeah, so it could be just misremembering or something. Um, but the whole thing is having an opinion on this. The opinion's kind of on the magic system itself, not on the story.
Yeah,
If that
or like
makes
even
sense.
if it's not like even if it's not like the exact magic system that's used in the series, it's just like what I'm remembering the magic system to be as. Because I have read the series multiple times, like back when there were still 4 books instead of 6 now. Um, but well, technically 6, because if you count the 3 short stories that still are 300 or 400 pages or whatever, as book number 5. But um, yeah, I don't remember everything about that series, truthfully. But like what I do remember is there's like there are some things about it that I don't like, and it is something that you can like as a cautionary tale when you're creating your own system.
Yeah,
Like
and
think about these things. You don't have to say these things, but think about them and incorporate it silently into your world.
exactly. And going back to something you had said before, you don't have to have every single like rule and limit of your system written out. Soft magic systems are wonderful and very well done if done right.
Soft magic
Me
systems allow you
personally,
allow usually the casters the most freedom.
exactly. For me, I'm just more comfortable with a hard magic system because I like knowing what is the limit, what are the costs, how is the magic, how is it classified, you know, I like having all of that structure because that allows me, and again, this is primarily coming from someone who's doing game design, who loves game design, has wanted to do game design since I was a literal child. For me, the hard magic system makes things easier to understand. Um, but for storytelling purposes, soft magic sometimes is the better way to go. If you're writing a story, create basically the form of media really does have some limitations on what you can get away with, like tabletops, for example. I'm going to use real quick, and you have to have a system that is at least halfway to a hard magic system if you have a game.
And just because something
because
is Heart's magic system doesn't mean that you know how it works in world, but like have to know how it doesn't work.
yeah. You know what? Here's a series I'm going to talk about that I'm on the fence about the series. There's a series called The Strongest Sage with the Weakest Crest. I'm not going to go into why I have strong opinions on this anime, but the main character was a sage that was alive some 400 years ago. I don't remember. And
Like
what he
2000
knew
or
as
something.
magic, 2000. Oh, okay.
And
What he knew as magic.
I can't remember, but it was a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And he remembers magic being a certain way, and then he comes to the world as it is now. He's reincarnated, and magic is very different. And there's all these adjustments, and the way that people cast magic has been influenced by people. You know, humans now believe that if you do chantless casting, that you might be a demon, or like anything. Like they have these weird new thoughts about how magic should and can be
And it
cast.
was all influenced like from an
Yeah,
outside source.
and like that's and I again that's something I was talking about earlier, of the world builders boon, but also and there's another world building podcast. I don't remember the name of it right now, and I really apologize to the TikToker Endeavorance, who's the one who runs it. um, he calls it the veil, and I think that's a perfect name. And that is that until the true situation is revealed to whoever is experiencing it, anything can change. You can make any change because a the history of the world can be written and then rewritten and then rewritten, and then we don't have the history, we have the perceived history. We have unreliable narrators that change the story. Look how often cartoons and anime and movies like to be like, look at this hero, they've done amazing feats of strength, they're wonderful, they are unstoppable, and then it's a coward. It's a literal coward who is absolutely afraid of their own shadow, but because the story shows them as being the indomitable hero, everyone puts this gold on their name that
Talking
they ain't worth.
Yeah. Or like say in Freerun how the hero was not the one chosen by the sword.
Yes. Oh God, I loved that twist.
Like
Oh, that was
he's
such a
not
great twist.
truly a hero, it's just he's the one that did it.
And they don't tell people because of what it would do to morale.
And
And it
that's the thing, like the like the point of what the entire thing that we're saying when it comes to world building isn't, hey, this is how you need to run your thing. This is how you need to craft it, all that shit. But we are saying is when you are making your world, set your ground rules and stick to them. They don't have to be known by the inhabitants of said world or the people who are looking in from the outside. But they need to stick by some sort of rules that you know when you're crafting it, because otherwise your system's going to feel not complete.
yeah.
Your world won't feel right if you can like if there's not a reason, like, especially if you're not doing a futuristic world, you're going to need reasons why you're not. Avatar did a good way of doing it. I like, does Avatar have issues? Yes, it has issues with its world building, especially
Every series has
every
issues.
series has world building. Like, I'm by no means a world building master. I've just created a lot of worlds in my little head.
I'm arrogant enough to say I am. Why though?
But Avatar: The Last Airbender, it does a good job because you see technology moving in a similar but separate direction than what we have in our world, and you can tell why it didn't exist. A lot of this technology didn't exist is because constant war. especially over 100 years, where a lot of these things were destroyed or people grabbing power, like in Bossing Se, like where they just said there is no war, but meanwhile they're being drilled into from the outside because
Now, yeah,
hmm?
no, go ahead.
And it's like, but like all of that stuff is like because you're denying, like, the history is of the world. Do we know it? No, but we also see how it's developing and how they're making progress. We see in the show how war balloons are invented, and it's not just, and it's not the years of research that went into it beforehand. It was talking about an egg and the smell of an egg and releasing it from the top. And so, like, you get to see all that, and you get to see, and yeah, does all the technological advancements make sense? Hell fucking no. But besides the super laser, the series makes sense in how it progresses.
Now, something I'm going to say because we are talking about rules and such. Now, soft magic systems obviously are the perceived limits and rules of the magic may be obscure.
Right.
What I suggest whenever you do a soft magic system, still write out rules, but just write what you want the rules to be in the course of your story.
Yep.
You can have these tales of, these mages doing this ridiculously world shifting like things. And it's like, well, is that history or fiction? It's a story. Well, yeah, but is it a story of history? Like, is it a historical story or is it fiction? It certainly exists. Okay, but that's not my problem. This is a soft, it very well could be true.
And
Lord of the Rings, one of the reasons Lord of the Rings is brought up so often as well for a soft magic system is because of the fact that while J.R.R. Tolkien is known for going above and beyond while creating lore, and like literally the joke of like he gives a history to every tree branch. Like, even though he does that, it's from what I've come to understand of J.R.R. Tolkien, he'll do that, but he will only write the lore of what's important and what's going on. There's a common story of something in the past. I believe it's like two wizard brothers or something that had gone to a foreign land to figure out what happened. And someone asked him what the outcome of that story was. And in his response, he even says, I have no idea, but I'm afraid they may have failed. And that's it. We don't know the story. We don't know what happens to them. We don't know if they succeed, if they fail. We just know that Tolkien don't even know, but he's got a bad feeling.
and and talking about that is like, and like I said, like, saying what you're saying. That's what I was saying at the beginning. Why we were saying at the beginning, create an outline, fill
Yeah.
it in as you go, but like the rules themselves are your outline. Everything is confined by that until you write something that is meant to flip it. And okay, this is a spoiler on last week's episode of Freerun, and I'm sorry, Alice.
I'm removing the headset. Just scream when you're done.
I'll send you a message on Discord. In that show, they literally say, oh, this is impossible to break. This is impossible to do until it's done. And then they say something, the reason I can't ever stop being a mage is because every now and then the magic world is flipped on its head. Or it's flipped upside down. And I love that. I love that concept. But basically, what that means is, like, I'm not talking about that anymore. I am still using it as an example. Don't worry, I'm not going to spoil things for you. But basically, it's just saying, hey, what's known isn't always known for a fact by the people of the world. It's what
I
is known
love
by
how
the
much
authors.
I love how my chat is just also going to take off headset. I too have taken off headset. I don't know why I did. Um, One of the things I really want to say, I don't know why I took my headset off. I'm current in the manga. Like, I don't know why I took it off. I do have to get current on Fear, and that fucking love that series.
It's the episode, the
so
animation from last week's episode was so
There
beautiful.
was a friend of mine sent me a gift from something that I knew about, but like they didn't know it was from Fearin, and they sent it to me. And I went, "That got animated! Oh my god!" And I won't say what it is because I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
DM it to me.
What?
DM it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
I bet it's gonna be last week's episode.
It very well might be. Just anyway, so that's
oh no, that wasn't last week's.
I'm assuming like 2 or 3 then.
Yeah, 2 or 3 ago.
Yeah, I'm a little far behind. Anyway, but continue with what you were saying because I was just gonna go on a tangent about how much I fucking love Freerin. Okay. We are gonna have to have a World Weaver episode where we just sit here and gush about Freerin.
Oh no,
point, I think.
I was so pleased with, and it has to do with the last episode. And I hate it that I can't talk about it, but also their way of the world building of there's a reason why Freerin, the people who cast magic, are mages. And that's all you need to know. Like there's a reason. And that's it's cool. It's cool. Even though like the magic set up from the beginning of the series, you see that it's like some of them are like it's silly things like, oh, you can see through clothes. You know, like that's a spell that gets hunted down. Well, you have to like, why do they have to go learn how to make a spell to see the clothes? Why do they have to go look at flowers in order to conjure them and study flowers in order to conjure them? You know, all that stuff, there's a reason behind it. And I love that because it means magic in this world is free, but you have to put in the effort. And of course, there is still mana and stuff like that. But like I'm saying, to learn magic and stuff, you have to put in the effort to learn it. I love Freeren's magic system as far as I've seen so far. And last episode was everything that sealed the deal for me. Last week's. And in general, I love that series. It is a beautiful series. Also, you'll cry if you're not seeing it, and then you will just prepare to cry. Hello? Did you take off your headset? I think she took off her headset.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Did something happen?
No. Sometimes if I like bang on my desk, it fucks with the wiring.
Oh.
So here's the thing. I have to gush for a moment. Frieren very quickly became my 3rd favorite anime. For those who have known me since college, for the longest time, Fairy Tail was my #1 anime. I threw myself into Fairy Tail. Then, out of nowhere, about halfway through season 2, Shield Hero became my favorite anime. And then I was watching Reincarnated as a Slime. That very quickly became my 2nd anime. So already off the bat, Fairy Tail dropped to 3rd. And then Frieren got announced as an anime. And I was like, if they keep the anime to what it should be, like if they keep true to the manga and the small details that I love, because there's one big thing. I don't want to spoil something I realized, but there's a very specific detail that or that you can notice in the anime and in the manga that would go over anyone's head who's not looking at the storytelling of Frieren. And I said to myself, as long as they animate it semi beautifully, which they blew out of the water, and they keep the emotional, like the emotional weight of a lot of the scenes, and they don't crank up the action just to make it an action anime, it will become one of my favorites. And within one, maybe two episodes, it was my third favorite anime because they proved they are going that mile. And with some of the stuff that's happened in the manga recently, as long as it gets that beautiful treatment, it will become my number one. I'm just gonna say that right
Also,
now.
hey, Revo.
I don't know. You know, do you care if I talk about a storytelling thing from Frieren?
It has it already been animated?
It's been animated since day one.
Okay, then yes. Go ahead.
Anyone who does not want spoilers for Frieren, I'm going to count down from 5. You have that long to take off your headset. At that point, I will not be held accountable. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, with Frieren, if you pay attention to the storytelling, the pacing is a very important indication of something. As the story goes on, you notice that the pacing between events starts getting shorter. At first, we are losing years at a time. We'll see Frieren, and then it'll be 20 years later, and then another 20 years. But as the story is going, the time skips get shorter and shorter.
I know what
and
you're
shorter
saying is happening.
and shorter.
I'm guessing, is it because like she's remembering it more?
No, if you pay attention, it's not even that she's remembering it more. She's getting more sentimental about things. She's getting more in touch with her emotions and her remembering and her.
That's
her
what I mean. Like
feelings and her
that's
love
like
of things.
it's becoming more important to her as time goes on, and it's sticking with her for
Yes,
more. That's what I
and
mean.
it is such a minute detail that you would never think to like. You would never think about it. But like even in the manga, there gets to a point where like sometimes they're like, it's been this long since Hero Himmel's death. And then they give the next chapter, it's been this long. And you're like, wait, has any fucking time passed? It just it slowly just goes lower and lower, and you're just like, oh, and then some other things happen that I'm not going to spoil
Yeah, you
because they
don't spoil
make me
things.
cry.
Also,
But oh
Revo,
god, I fucking love Frieren.
Revo, go enjoy your snack, and can you get me one as well?
Anyway,
There's space and time.
done gushing about spoilers for Frieren for now.
But yeah,
Uh,
no, it's the show is amazing. The like no, like a lot, and also what you're saying. A lot of what you're saying matters because it is like okay, um, like like you do need to make it for what you were saying earlier specifically. You do need to make it for your story that you're telling. It's just
yes,
it depends. Like, and that's why certain things like matter a lot. You know, one series I fucking love, but it gets really fucking overshadowed.
hit me.
Actually, I have to now have to remember what it's called. It's an isekai.
Uh huh.
It's an isekai where the main characters actually it's like 20 characters are like summoned all at once. And they live like and they just have to find their way through this new world. I can't remember the name.
Hmm.
Something Ash. It's something Ash. I can't remember what it's called. Is it Ash and Magic? Um Anime. What is it? Magic and Ash? Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash? That's it. Yeah, Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. It is a series, also known as Ashes and Illusions. Grimgar Ashes and Illusions. Okay, so it is a series where these people are all isekai into this world, they have no memories from their world that they came from,
Mhm.
and they just have to survive. Um, and I fucking love this show. Okay, I highly recommend it because it's really good. The manga is way better, most likely. I haven't read it. I know what happens up to like volume 6 or 7, or something like that. I don't fucking remember. But that world, the monsters are a species that just exist in the world. And it's very real. Everything about this world is just very real, and I love that series. And you do learn more about the world as you go on, but some concepts, some things could turn on your head. There's an area, and it's not shown in the anime. There's an area in the future of the manga, like in the manga past where the anime ends, where you can't use any magic, and but like you see all these different things, and it's just a really cool series, and it has an interesting take and like about and how it makes everything feel real. Um, and another one talking, another actually an example of good world building, even though it makes a mockery. Once again talking about Don Maki, even though it makes a mockery of a lot of mythology, especially with Hestia being a thirsty bitch. Um, when she takes a vow to not, you know, anyway, in actual mythology. But besides that, Don Maki does a really good also take on magic because it's basically a treated more like individual magic. It's not something that you can learn anyone else's magic. It's just this belongs to you, and it makes sense why they have to use these magic stones in order to do common magics, like lighting up the street lamps and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that's one of the uses for their magic stones is to light up the street lamps. And you get those from the monsters, so that's how you get the common magics is from basically, and the common tools is from taking parts from monsters. Besides that, all magic items, all magic artifacts, or no, sorry, besides magic items and artifacts, um, you essentially are stuck with only the magic that you can do. And that's also good world building because it makes sense why they're not super futuristic to some degree.
Now, real quick, Jade, Yoshi wants to know your thoughts on Magitech.
Magitech is something that is not explored. Like, are you talking like in a specific sense, or what do you mean?
So Yoshi specifically says Magitech in Lost Odyssey, Magitech Chronicles, and Starships Mage. I don't know if you know any of
I
those.
don't know any of those, but I will say
Mm.
in combining magic and technology, it should absolutely be done. If
I
your role, if that is how you want to build your world, but if you don't want to build your world like that, have a reason why it can't be built like that.
Yeah. One instance of Magitech that I personally love and know about is a regular at Magic High School. I think that's a perfect blending of magical technology where they need their casting assistant devices, CADs, to
Mhm.
be able to utilize magic. And it kind of comes down to a combination of what the caster can do and what the tuner is able to put into their CADs and all of it. It's really, really well put together.
Futuristic magic,
I
pretty much. Yes.
Yeah. But I think when it comes to Magitech, you need to you need to almost guaranteedly kind of be on that hard magic side of things
Yeah.
for the sole reason of at what point is it not tech and at what point is it not magic?
Exactly. And
Like,
another thing, like that's why I like the Log Horizon example
yeah,
because you saw how quickly they made a train. People who didn't really come from those backgrounds necessarily made trains. People made steam engines real quickly by using a what was it, a turtle with that produces smoke from its like produces fire and heat from its back or something.
I don't know.
Um, and hold on, let me look this up. Um, Log Horizon, I like how it does, and it makes sense why the world isn't futuristic because only up until recently it was only NPCs that were straight up NPCs.
Yeah.
Um,
But
Log Horizon Steam engine.
while you're looking that up, to kind of further my point, at what point do you accept that you haven't built, and you didn't build a magical flame lance weapon thing? You've just built an artillery cannon.
Yeah,
And, sure, you might use magical formula to do it, but like, if I just put a fire spell at the base of a cannon and put a shell at the end of it, I've made a mortar. I didn't really make a Magitech thing.
all you did was cut out the need. Oh, I accidentally did things. All you did was take out the need for gunpowder.
Yeah,
Also, this is
so
the steam engine.
okay, okay. Oh, I do recall that now. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this
It's
is the
been a
steam
while since
engine.
I've watched Log Horizon.
This is a steam
I actually
engine.
haven't watched season 3 yet,
Well,
sadly.
like this is a steam engine that came about and it came about in a way that requires them not to be burning things that like and producing, say, pollution or stuff like that. But it still requires a living being to be part of it. So is it optimal? Fuck no. But as concept, it's really good. Cast fireball, but with shrapnel added. Yeah. Yeah, no, like you could say, like you could like there's so many ways of doing magical weapons. The the magic systems honestly that I dislike the most are when the magic is only like meant for combat. I don't
Yeah,
like those
I
systems as very
love
much.
that's one of the things, like, and as a game designer, I have a hard time getting away with that, like with not making it just combat related, short of just being like, oh, here's some
In that
lore as to
sense,
how people use this.
yeah, in that sense, all you have to do is throw in some lines like, "Oh yeah, they use water magic for this, that, or whatever."
Yeah, but like, perfect example, a D&D character I want to build now. She's going to have a lot of spells that have non-combat uses, because the entire reason she's a spellcaster is her late husband was in love with, magic, but was never able to pick it up. And she's an elf, so she spent some time when he was, reaching the end of his human days. She learned some magic just to impress him, and she discovered she really loves magic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
she's going to have combat spells, but like, I'm probably going to try and bribe talk to the DM about getting my hands, if it's 5th edition, on Druidcraft so that she can create flowers, because she loves that kind of spell. And it's going to be spells that don't have the greatest combat use, but are still going to be really useful.
yeah, and and it's just like something like it makes your world feel a lot fuller if it is obvious that things are not just for combat.
Yeah,
And
fine.
like going back to Avatar, in there, like say in they do the people in the swamp, for example. Yes, they absolutely use their things for their bending for combat. However, you also see how they don't have they don't use oars to row their boats really. They just bend the water to make their boats go.
Something something I like to say, think about. If you make a spell, ask yourself, how can I use this spell? If you create a creature that has a magical ability, ask yourself, how can I use this? I'm going to go back to my game for a moment in discussion here. In Heroes of Essia, the game I'm working on, the blacksmith of the first town you're in, Bradul, is a red dragonfell. Red dragonfell have flame resistance, and I do want to kind of code some or like breath weapons for the dragonfell, and I'm just going back and forth on if I'm going to do it. But he has fire resistance. He has a natural
Hey
affinity for
Sarah,
flame
how's it
spells,
going?
so he's a blacksmith. I literally have him casting fire spells for lighting the forge so that he can cook his steel better and have that precise level of control. because, and again, this is going back to me having hyper focuses and learning things. Did you know you can overcook steel?
Yes.
You can actually fuck up steel by keeping it in fire too long or
Yep.
having the fire too hot.
There's
So
quite an art
no,
to tempering steel and stuff like that.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I it is a hyper focus of mine, and the fact that with my hand right now I can't even pretend that I'll ever have a chance to do it is kind of upsetting. But when it comes down to it, if you make a spell, one thing you should always do is look at the spell and go, how does this affect my world?
Could you,
Not,
like, say in D&D, with D&D, could you potentially use heat metal to make armor?
um,
And like,
I,
but like
as a
it,
DM, I would allow it for rule of cool.
but like not saying like you still need all the tools and stuff. But
Yeah.
like
But you're
that's
asking, can you use it to heat up the
not
metal
like
so
not
that
like
you can?
not quite literally, but like I'm just saying like think about things in that kind of way.
Yeah. I,
And also, it
like
would
you
come
said,
with it would actually create a reason why that spell exists in the first place.
yeah. Because that's an unfortunate truth of history, at least in our world. If tech is created, it is inevitably used for war. Hey, Venom, but it is inevitably used for war. No matter what it is, it will be converted. I do have to go because my game is going to be starting soon. But
Oh shoot,
I,
yeah,
I,
we have been going on
I
for 2.5 hours.
yeah, we kind of lost time,
Well,
but
no,
I'm
I
not
mean that was fine. That
complaining.
was, we knew we were gonna go
We-
over. We knew we were gonna go
yeah,
over.
um, but um,
I okay. Anyway,
I'm trying to remember exactly what my point. Oh yeah, I remember now. So tech that is designed is going to inevitably be used for war if it can be. And if you know what you're doing, you can take a lot of spells that are like you're not going to be able to use this for combat well, and you can create combat uses out of it. I even so back when fifth edition was being released and it was released as D&D 1, and the only module for it was the I think it was Tyranny of Dragons or whatever was the one where you go to Greenest and you deal with the invasion.
I have no
I
idea.
literally, I have it somewhere on my shelf. But the point is, we got through that entire encounter because what I was doing is every time we saw a scout party, I would cast minor illusion off in the distance, and they would they would go and explore. Like, what the hell's making that noise? Oh, I hear people screaming in the distance. We've got people to go round up, and it slowly became this thing where we went from a group of 4 adventurers going into this town to a group of 4 adventurers and 10 commoners, and then 20 commoners, and then we got to the center of town with no fights, and
So
it's finally like, oh, how are you going to get through this? And the other player or one of the other players casts sleep, but utilizing spells that are obviously non-combat in combat is a great way. And I've used minor illusion in combat, and it's confused people.
yep. Okay, so before we do end,
Mhm.
we're not gonna go into a new topic, but I do want to actually say
Yes,
something
please.
for the we're gonna say something for the viewers and people who are watching the VOD and all that stuff. This is once again being posted on both of our YouTube channels.
Yes,
Um,
I realized I kind of messed up apparently with YouTube. I'm gonna be exporting this as soon as stream's over.
okay, yeah,
But
mine's gonna take a bit because I have to cut off the beginning bit. But I did want to say, if you enjoyed what we were doing today, this is definitely the most sprung out one that we're going to do. Like most jumping topics to topics to topics to topics.
don't lie
Um,
to the people.
no, we'll still be doing it, but this is the one that we went in knowing that we are going to be jumping to 1,000 different topics.
Yeah.
And not just because of ADHD, but because we wanted to give y'all an overall feeling of what we want to talk about. And what we want to do is in the future, when we do this again, is talk about more specific things, both about magic, but also just world building in general. How like say the creatures, how they exist in the world, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
And
so I went. Oh, thank you for the head pat,
Pat, pat,
Sarah.
pat.
Once again, I don't know if it came through, but I said I hope that you're doing well. um, but what we want y'all to do is in the comments or on even on Twitter or wherever. I don't care.
Come into my Discord. Throw the questions in general or
Just
RPG chat or anywhere.
leave
Well,
us leave
anywhere
us
anywhere proper.
leave us your burning questions about how you would go about how we would go about world building and how about certain things or questions that you want expanded on. What of these magic systems do you want us to expand on? Do you want us to expand on magics that like contract magic or stuff like that, or artificing magic or whatever? Or do you want, like I said, the creatures, things, the nature of the world, how all these blend in together? Tell us what you want to see so we can do it in the future.
Yes, and if you're watching this VOD on YouTube, slam us a like, please. If you're new to either of our channels, subs are always appreciated and loved. Comments down below, like Jade was just saying. Give us your feedback. Let us know. Do you like the way we're doing this? Do you think, hey, maybe there's a better way we can present our information
That
for
too,
this?
because I mean, let's be real. This was very sporadic.
Yeah, this was like,
This
well,
is this
you
is
say
the
sporadic.
no. I was about to say this is the most sporadic planned in advance thing that ever.
I was saying because when did you first bring this to me? Like September?
Before we had the Minecraft server.
So yeah, that would have been like August, September.
Yeah.
So you had messaged me about it then. We talked about it a little bit. It fell to the wayside.
It was before my debut.
Yeah, and then you had your debut. And then we talked about it again, and then I had a bunch of shit going on. And then we talked about it again, and eventually we were like, you know what? We keep talking about it.
Let's do it.
Let's have a call. Let's make a document. We'll put a bunch of stuff. We'll try and organize it. And then we planned it for 2 weeks ago, but it was one of those things that it got to Thursday. Neither of us knew what was going on. And we said, you know what? Let's wait 2 more weeks so we can plan.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna let me move my art tablet. But yeah, I think this is where we are going to be wrapping up, though.
Yes, I have to get to my Pathfinder campaign,
and then you get to rant about them about magic.
Oh well, they are in a very interesting place that we will be fucking come hell or high water. I am going to be having a discussion about the Spellscar Desert in Pathfinder at some point. I love it as a concept. My players hated it. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Let us know, like, give us feedback on if you guys enjoyed this, and we will be planning more of this in the future. I hope to see you all there. Subscribe to Jade. Jade's amazing. Give Jade all of the love. And yeah, come hang out with us. We'd love to see your questions. And if this series does well, I don't know what kind of benchmark we want to set for this yet. We might wait until a future episode to figure out what kind of benchmark we want to set.
Yeah.
Jade and I might sit down and start like developing a world between us on stream, doing exactly what we've been talking about. And we can, hell, you know what we can do if we do that, Jade?
What?
We can throw that up on a site like World Anvil and just let people have all of that information.
Yeah.
If people want to, run it for like D&D or something, we can give that to them. I think that'd be cool, right?
Yep. And for everyone else, have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm gonna go ahead and raid on out.
Yeah, I should probably do the same. I should totally rate Jade there, Jade.
No. Anyway, y'all have a good one.
No.